I've always wanted to go to PAX East, but for whatever reason, I could never attend, either because I couldn't afford it or had to be a good student and not miss school. But finally, after so many missed opportunities and a pandemic, I can officially say that I went to PAX East for the first time. I made sure to document as much as I could, and oh boy, a lot has happened. We're talking surprises, drama, and possibly murder. I tried to experience as much as possible, but obviously it's unrealistic to do everything. Nonetheless, this is gonna be the most in-depth PAX vlog you'll ever come across, so if you want to know what this convention was really like, sit back, relax, and let me tell you the story of my first PAX East. This was my friend and I's first PAX together, and I swear that this is the most preparation we've ever done in our entire lives. We pre-purchased the tickets, feverishly checked incoming information, and even made an entire document to keep track of everything. We were not messing around. We gathered supplies, mapped out our schedule, and woke up early to make it to the convention right when it opened. Our mission was to get as many freebies as possible, get as many street passes as we could, and not go in debt. Oh, and I guess have fun along the way. We wanted to maximize the 2 days we were there. The convention center opened at 10 AM and closed at 10 PM, so we were gonna be there for at least 12 hours per day. We were in it for the long haul. We got there 30 minutes before opening and there were already people waiting in line, which, you know, I did not feel like camping out the night before. When you first enter those doors, it feels like entering Disneyland. If this is the next best thing to a Disney theme park, I'll take it. Now, if this is your first time, there are going to be PAX staff called enforcers directing you where to go depending on your badge status. Whether you still need to pick up your badge, if you're part of the media, things like that. Even with those very clear instructions, my 2 brain cells lost all retention as soon as I entered those doors. We noticed a long line near the Nintendo booth at the entrance, with an impressive Link statue for this upcoming niche game I'm pretty sure everyone forgot about, Drops of the Dynasty or something? I don't know. We flocked to that line because we assumed that this was the path to the Expo Hall, but then we realized that a bunch of people were walking past our line, so we quickly jumped ship and followed the other crowd. We were definitely newbies. At this point, we were just mesmerized by the scale of the convention center, taking in the sights of the main lobby, hallways, rooms, everything. Eventually, we were led into the waiting room with even more people. I didn't know what to expect, but I was more than ready to dive into the PAX experience. As the line began to move forward, we entered those magical doors and were officially in the Expo Hall. And wow, when I tell you that the show floor is massive, I'm not joking. It's basically as big as a football field. As soon as you enter, it's instantly overwhelming. So much stimulation, but so much excitement. I'm pretty sure you could spend the entire day in the Expo Hall and still not run out of things to do. Just an endless variety of booths, all waiting for you to check them out. We went back to the Expo Hall multiple times, and I swear there's always some booth we haven't seen before. So many demos to try out, merch to buy, connections to make, so much crammed in here. The first thing that caught our eyes was the plushie store. I love plushies, I don't need any more though, but that didn't stop me from browsing each and every one of them. Even just holding these soft products was satisfying enough. I'm pretty sure half of them were Kirby and Pikachu, but they still had an impressive selection. Somehow these were the most reasonably priced merch I saw at the convention, ranging from $15 to $50. After resisting the urge to buy yet another plush, we spotted someone wearing a Pac-Man costume. So, of course, we had to take a picture with them. Bless that Pac-Man, because the embrace of an oversized orb was what we really needed that day. So the main freebies we wanted were the My Nintendo rewards. If you scanned the QR codes at dedicated stations around the convention, you get free stuff. But we mainly wanted the Splatoon tote bag. The problem was, we had no idea where they were, despite the website literally stating their exact locations, but eventually we found one station that gave us some Splatoon pins. Neat. Another goal was to scour the floor for retro game stores, because my friend and I do indeed like retro games at a reasonable price. Luckily, there were multiple stores scattered throughout the Expo Hall, each of them carrying different inventory. Some had amiibo, some held accessories, some sold entire console bundles. It was cool discovering games and consoles I've never seen in real life up until that moment. The thing is, we already knew going in that everything would be incredibly overpriced, but you never know what kind of deal you could find. And we were right, a lot of these prices were at least $20 over market value, but did that stop people from buying? Nope. Apparently people are willing to go into credit card debt to get these games. My friend saw someone buy 2 PS1 games for over $400 in cash. Like, hello? Where can I find this money? We're out here laughing about how we could never afford these games, but then 2 seconds later, people are just willing to fork over the cash? So we just witnessed firsthand why retro game prices are so high. That was very shocking to see, but there's more to this later. We had the first hour to get our bearings around the convention, but then we headed to our first event, a panel about getting into the game industry. Yup, super fun stuff. How else are we gonna get that disposable retro money? Most of the panelists were involved in esports, specifically marketing, programming, HR, aka not my realm of interests, but we still wanted to hear what they had to share. Now, if you're anything like me, trying to get into the game industry like everyone else, you've probably absorbed a lot of advice that is inherently good, but not exactly practical because of how broad it can be. That's the vibe I got from this panel. Right off the bat, I'm not bashing these panelists at all. They also know that the journey to get in is anything but simple, so it's not like, oh, have you tried applying for more gaming jobs? But the advice boiled down to make connections. There are many ways to enter the game industry, and show off your specialties because that's what companies value. One part that I found depressingly funny was them acknowledging the massive amount of layoffs recently, and how the economy is heading toward a recession, aka bleak things. And I swear they said that it might not be a bad idea to stay in your field for the time being to gain more skills. Wow. Just say that we're not talented enough. I get it. But they also reassured us that the gaming industry is also blossoming at a rapid rate, so one can only hope that there's more room for us. Around an hour in, they transitioned to the Q&A section, so we left early to make it in time for the Double Dash tournament. Sorry, panelists. I appreciate the advice though. Simply put, this is one disaster struck. Despite making it to the tourney room right on time, we didn't know that you're supposed to sign up like early because we had to join a wait list. Oops, it's fine. We can wait. So everything was fine and well, waiting for people to fill the room. The organizer began stating the rules to everyone and called out names to start the bracket. Since we were at the far end of the list, we knew it was gonna be a long wait. Apparently the consoles weren't even set up yet, and this poor person had to set up like 3 stations on their own, so it already took some time to actually get the tournament started. As they called people's names, some failed to show up, and so other people filled in. We assumed that we'd eventually be able to fill in the spot if enough people were missing, so we waited and waited, but we were getting antsy. So my friends finally went up to the enforcer and asked when our turn was. Apparently, when they were calling out everyone's names at the beginning, they already accounted for people on the wait list, in which our names were not mentioned. What they failed to communicate was that the rest of us were not going to participate at all, so not gonna lie, we were quite upset. It was fun watching other people compete, but ultimately we wanted to be in the tournament as well, even if we lost the first round. So that was a little stinky, but it's fine. We had other tournaments later on, which were Mario Party 7 and the main one I wanted to participate in, Just Dance. I've been waiting weeks for that one. With our newfound knowledge, we decided to be proactive and sign up for those tournaments in advance. Apparently, the Mario Party 7 tournament was so full that we couldn't even sign up. No big deal. It was our fault for not signing up sooner. But thankfully, my friend and I just made it to the Just Dance list, like spot 20 and 21. We have at least one tournament to look forward to, which was happening in about an hour. As we were coping in the eating area, we found out that Jirard the Completionist was currently at the Elsie booth, an upcoming game that they were showcasing, so we booked it back to the Expo Hall. Unfortunately, he was in fact not there when we first checked, probably hiding from us because we failed to enter a tournament. I'm sorry, I didn't know. So we explored more of the show floor and found some more retro game stores. This store had a bunch of valuable cartridges, including everyone's favorite commodity, old Pokémon games. I witnessed with my own eyes that someone bought 4 Pokémon Game Boy games, specifically red, blue, yellow, and gold for $70 each. According to my calculations, that is way too much money. I'm painfully aware that old Pokemon games are spiking in prices at the moment, but $70 each? First of all, Gen 1 is not worth $70 in my eyes. I'm sorry, but again, where can I get this disposable income? Because I don't even want to buy one of these games for that much. This person justified it by saying that their biggest regret was giving away their childhood copies, and they're essentially buying them back. Which is, you know, fair enough. Nostalgia is all too powerful. I would know. Unlike the last customer, they whipped out their credit card, so I don't know if they could actually afford those games, but hopefully they did not regret their purchase later on, cause I know I would've. That was honestly traumatizing to see, but I guess not everybody is as indecisive and cheap as me. My friends did end up buying Wario Blast for $20, which was not a bad deal, though he said that he kinda regrets buying it in such bad shape, but you know, it's the convention environment. We eventually found the Nintendo booth giving away the Splatoon tote bags, but they were sadly out of stock, so they just gave us platinum points and told us to check back tomorrow, so I knew the first thing we were doing the next day. We went back to the Elsie booth and finally saw Jirard in the flesh. This was the first time in a while meeting someone I admire, so I had a lot of nerves. The line to meet him wasn't actually that long at all, which surprised me. He was just there, hanging out like everyone else. I'm sure if you met him before, you already know this, but he's just very kind, very humble. When it was my turn, I did the fanboy thing of just going on autopilot, telling him I've watched his videos since 2014, pretty much just mindlessly praising him. Oops. But he took it very well. I got him to sign my PAX badge, took a nice picture, and unfortunately had to ditch the booth because the Just Dance tournament was beginning very shortly. Also, I needed to meet someone else at the same time. Very chaotic timing. As we made our way back to the tourney room, just who am I waiting to meet up with? World's famous PokeTuber Johnstone, of course. I have edited a lot of Twitch highlights for him before, so I really wanted to meet him for the first time, cause I never thought I would. And so I did. No surprise here, but he was also super nice and calm, almost like these are normal people. Wow, I think it was just the adrenaline, but I also blacked out and don't remember what I said. Hopefully I didn't embarrass myself too much, and of course, as this was happening, that's when they decided to start the Just Dance tournament by migrating everyone over to the dance stage down the hall. So before I had to go, I did get a picture with him, very nice, and I told John that he could watch me embarrass myself in front of everyone, aka playing Just Dance, assuming that we weren't too far down the line. The dance stage itself contained a raised platform, a Connect, and Just Dance 2019. Not sure why they haven't updated the game yet, but sure. Apparently a ton of people showed up to watch the tournament, between 50 to 75 people. I was getting a little nervous, but I was just ready to finally show off my Just Dance prowess. This time, the enforcer called out 2 names at a time for each round. So we figured we'd just wait until our names were called, because we knew for sure that we were not on the wait list this time. It was actually quite fun watching a variety of people having a blast at Just Dance, with virtually no judgment from the audience. People always clapped at the end of each performance. No matter if the dancers could barely keep up or memorizing the choreography, these were my people. John actually met up with us again to watch the tournament, which I honestly did not expect, so that was very nice of him. The time kept ticking, performer after performer, and no mention of our names. I was keeping a rough count so I could gauge when our turn would likely be, but once again, we eventually caved and asked the enforcers. So, get this. They said that we weren't able to participate, but my friend pointed out our names right on the list. The only difference was, our names weren't highlighted. Odd. And then they asked, did you check in 15 minutes before? What? You're supposed to confirm a second time? We thought signing up beforehand was enough. But no, apparently you have to sign up and then confirm that you're participating right before the tournament? Yeah, we did not do that because if you remember, we were meeting Jirard and John right before this event. So I guess we only half signed up, but that didn't seem to matter because people who did confirm still didn't show up to the tournament. At this point, I was not happy. I don't blame the enforcers and it's partially our fault for not double, triple, quadruple checking, but this was the second time in a row that we essentially wasted our time. Just a little more communication would have saved a lot of disappointment. And what's worse is that I kept John waiting around for nothing. I had to break the news and immediately apologized. Thankfully, he handled it well and was just enjoying the dancing. I still felt so bad. So we eventually packed up our stuff and left in shame to the console freeplay. Another part of PAX East that we banked on was the console freeplay. It was our safety net, in case we had some time to kill. Even on the website, this section boasted hundreds of games available, both modern and retro. As we're well aware, retro game prices have been clowning around for a while, so we figured that this is likely the only opportunity to play these games anytime soon. But as we were browsing the list, we found some questionable things. Earth, Space, Bound for the NES? NES for the NES. GameCube for the GameCube. Mario Party 1 and 3, but not 2. Fire Emblem 3 hours? Wow, I didn't know the game was that short. Cadence of Hyrule, Crypt of the Necrodancer, featuring The Legend of Zelda. That gave us a good laugh. But regardless, we had a dedicated list of must-play retro games. So when we first got to the console freeplay room, there were lots of people playing, but not too overcrowded. What concerned us was that we only saw modern consoles, like the PS5 and Switch. And furthermore, there was a stapled printout featuring the list of available games. And once again, only modern games. Strange. So when we asked the staff if these were the only games here, they said yes. So now we thought that the console freeplay section on the website was either outdated or straight up incorrect. Let's give it up for the third betrayal in a row. Yay! Looking back, it was definitely first world problems. How dare our expectations not be met at this gaming convention? But you gotta admit that a triple whammy of disappointment has to sting, right? And it did. We had a ton of hope and wonder up until the Mario Kart tournament, and then it felt like nothing was going right. We planned so far ahead and it still fell apart. So we went back to the plushie store. Since that was apparently our only semblance of normalcy, my friends bought the Toad in a blue acorn suit as a coping gift, which, you know, was a good purchase. We were complaining a lot at this point, but we promised to redeem ourselves tomorrow. No more clownery. Paranoid about the last few mishaps, we went upstairs early for video game trivia. The upper level has 4 theaters, each of them with a waiting room. The rest of the events we wanted to attend were not tournaments, so we thankfully didn't have to check in 57 times anymore. In the waiting room, enforcers tried entertaining the audience with random questions. One of them even had a guitar to play live, and so they utilized it by having everyone sing along to this mysterious song. Can you guess what it was?
1, 2, 3, 4. No one ever was. The gas stand is my real test. The train of it is my God.
Must be an indie track. I will admit, it was endearing at first. So moving on to the actual trivia, we had no idea what kind of trivia this was gonna be. If it was gonna be like super obvious questions or super niche facts that no one would know. The event was separated by several categories. Of course, there were random trivia questions, but also guessing zoomed in box art, guessing Metacritic scores, and a painful reminder of guessing price charting prices of shovelware. I actually didn't know most of the trivia, but somehow I was freakishly good at guessing Metacritic scores. Trying to guess prices was bittersweet because we can laugh all we want about these insane prices, but as demonstrated at the retro game booths in this very convention, people are wild enough to pay that much. That's still traumatic, but overall, we actually really enjoyed that event. It was fun reacting with the audience to these random gaming facts. A nice pick-me-up from the afternoon calamity. And now we move on to the final event of day 1, Nintendo Feud, Team Peach vs Team Zelda, a spoof on Family Feud. It was fine. I definitely enjoyed the trivia more. I appreciated the passion behind it though some of the categories were questionable. For example, if Ganon invaded Hyrule Castle, what's something that he would not want to see? Or what's something that Kirby would lick? I will give it to them. They were thinking out of the box for sure. Much like actual Family Feud, they claimed to have actually surveyed people to get these answers. Sometimes, if the audience didn't really get the answer, they would still give the points if they were close enough. Definitely a little confusing, but it was still a nice end to day 1. At this point, we were there for the full 12 hours, aka extremely exhausted, but we still gotta get up early tomorrow to do it all over again. And here begins day 2. Apparently, talking in a loud convention for 12 hours isn't good for your throat. Or maybe my vocal cords are literally held together by duct tape. So, my voice was shot. But that didn't stop me from going back to PAX East. So I thought ahead and brought a whiteboard and marker to communicate my intricate thoughts. We got to the convention center around the same time and actually knew where to go. This time there was no overflowing room and we got to wait in the queue inside the Expo Hall. People were bouncing inflatable beach balls and dice blocks. This definitely felt like Disneyland. Once the day officially started, we beelined straight to the Splatoon tote bags. Yes, we have a priority straight, and it wasn't long before we literally secured the bag. After that, we wanted to check out the NintendoVS Arcade booth. Even though we were very efficient with our time, it was easily the longest wait, roughly an hour. So when it was your turn, you were grouped into either pairs or forced to compete in a series of challenges through various Nintendo games, which were Yoshi's Crafted World, Mario Party Superstars, Mario Golf Super Rush, and the original Super Mario Bros. I would show you some clips of me playing, but the staff seemed very wary of recording any gameplay, so I guess in fear of the Nintendo ninja swatting my house. Just imagine I'm playing these very secretive games that have already been released. The challenges weren't anything too crazy, essentially playing a small portion of each game, but even if we lost, we still got a free pin for each section. Very nice. And to top it all off, you got to take a picture with world famous Mario or Luigi. We returned to the Elsie booth and Jirard was thankfully there again. We said hello and apologized that we left without trying the game, but we were back to do just that. Obviously he didn't mind, but I just found it funny that we prioritized Just Dance over this upcoming indie game. I knew Jirard had a hand in developing, but other than that, I had no idea what to expect. It was described as a roguelike, which I've never played before. As I was playing, I got heavy Mega Man vibes. Right off the bat, the pixel art was stunning. I'm very bad at platforming, so I'm not doing a good job demonstrating the gameplay, but it was definitely quite fun. Even if I didn't really know what I was doing, I did run into a bug where I couldn't move and they had to restart the game for me, so it's definitely still in development, but it was cool to say that I played an early version of Elsie. Neat stuff. We went back to the entrance to claim the last Nintendo freebie, which was the Tears of the Kingdom pin. Remember that long line from the very beginning? That was actually the line to get the pin, and a picture with Link. Now, up to this point, you may have noticed that I never mentioned buying anything myself. No games, no merch, not even food. Hi, I hate spending money. Even with all the enticing products displayed throughout this convention, I was somehow stubborn enough to spend nothing yet. But at the same time, it would be a disservice to look forward to PAX for months and then just not buy anything there. So I eventually caved and got myself the PAX 2023 jacket, which is pretty much the only purchase I was willing to make, even though it was $86. Admittedly, it's a very cool jacket, and so many other people I saw looked cool wearing it. I was content with my one purchase. us, because let's be real, I can't even afford to spend recklessly. We continued to float around and looked at the map once again, and this is when we found out that there was a separate free play room dedicated to classic consoles, despite the lists on the website clumping them together. It wasn't even next to the regular console free play. It was down the hall past the tourney room, where all the tomfoolery happened. If we walked like 2 more seconds past that room, we would have found it ourselves. And sure enough, there were all the retro consoles laughing at us. Since this was on a Saturday, there were much more people around the convention, and especially in this room. Almost every station was occupied, except for one Dreamcast. That was our only hope of actually tackling our long list of retro games to try out. But as we were gonna check out a game, the people in front of us just booked the Dreamcast, meaning that virtually all the consoles we wanted to try were occupied. The staff could tell that this room was super busy, so they didn't give us a concrete wait time. Each station had 30 to 45 minutes per game, so it would definitely be a long wait. If only we knew about this room yesterday, then maybe we would have had the chance to try Earth Space Bound for the NES. We didn't even look at the catalog of games this time because of how busy it was, so we decided to cut our losses and bail. It's fine, there's always next year. We had a bunch of extra time before the next event, so we decided to step back into the Expo Hall. This time, I promised myself to make connections. I'm so allergic to approaching people, especially those who are like contributing so much to the game industry, but as someone who is indeed trying to enter it at some point in my life, PAX East might as well be my best shot. So while my friend was happily playing the many demos on the show floor, I somehow mustered up the courage to talk to the developers with my trusty whiteboard, because remember that my voice was still murdered. Luckily, every developer I talked to was incredibly nice. They were more than willing to give some insight and advice that felt a lot more personal than the panel. I even got some business cards to prove that I interacted with people. I know, where's my medal? They all told me that just by talking to people like them at PAX, I am already at an advantage. Well, I certainly hope that's true, because it's not fun being outside of the game industry. It was terrifying reaching out to these highly skilled talents, but I'm glad I did it. After walking around some more, we found yet another retro game store that we haven't visited yet. I swear these appear out of nowhere. Unlike the other stores, this one also sold various accessories like extension cables and memory cards. Their games were in the best condition as well, each of them in plastic bags. None of that sticker nonsense. Still too expensive, but at least they were pleasing to the eye. While the Expo Hall is incredibly stimulating and exciting, it can also be overwhelming and claustrophobic very quickly. Sometimes you gotta escape to a quieter place as a break. Apparently the PAX people already thought of that and had a designated quiet space called the AFK Room, so we figured we'd check it out. And wow, they weren't kidding with it being a quiet space. It was extremely silent, like library silent. I would show footage, but I feel like it would be disrespectful to do that, so just imagine a bunch of tables and lounge chairs where some people are resting and others are coloring. I'm glad that they have a space for that, since PAX can be overstimulating, though it was slightly unnerving to us, so we promptly left. On our way down the hall, the dance stage was taunting me again, and I was still bitter about yesterday's tomfoolery, so I decided to vindicate myself and have my own Just Dance performance. On any other occasion, I would not have the guts to dance in front of people, but spite can take you very far, and in this case, that energy led me to be very try-hard to Britney Spears. Luckily, the people watching were very supportive, and a lot of them actually clapped for me at the end, so my purpose has been fulfilled. Next year, I will dominate. Mark my words. On that note, throughout our time, we passed by the dance stage multiple times and we heard many of the same songs, since it was open to the public, and they only played Just Dance 2019. The most common three were Do 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 by Blackpink, Finesse by Bruno Mars and Cardi B, and Bang 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 by Big Bang. It was comical whenever we were eating and across the room, we'd hear Bang 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 for the 5th time that day. Technically, the convention closes at 10, but the Expo Hall closes at 6, so we decided to take one final lap around the Expo Hall, exploring any remaining sections we haven't been to yet. First was the Bring Your Own Computer section, where you pay to bring your entire computer setup to play at the convention. Now, I know not everyone lives near Boston, so I assume that some people had to pay additional fees to ship their very heavy setup to this place, which is just wild. We saw some very expensive computers, and even one that looked like a fish tank. Apparently there was a high enough demand for all the bougie PC players to get their own section. I am not one of them. Nearby was the gigantic tabletop area. Much like the console Freeplay, there was a wide assortment of tabletop games that anyone could check out and play. There were literally hundreds of games to pick from, and not your typical Monopoly or Scrabble. I'm talking about those hardcore niche tabletop games that I've never heard of. And nearby was a huge play area, tables filled to the brim with players. I don't know how people could play with the commotion in the background. Even though we were away from the show floor, it was still loud and chaotic. Along the way, we passed by the $200 custom controllers that we'll never be able to afford, but somehow other people have the budget for it. We visited various clothing merch stations, and my friend bought a Street Fighter 6 shirt, and as luck would have it, we stumbled upon a PC demo of that exact game. My friend was looking forward to this game and seemed to have a ton of fun playing this demo. As we were about to leave the Expo Hall for good, I took a glimpse of the Toxic Crusaders booth and I casually spotted the angry video game nerd. Toxic Crusaders was among the most advertised game throughout PAX, but we had no idea that James Rolfe was there to endorse it. If it wasn't for me, we literally could have missed him. My friend easily wanted to meet him while I sat back and watched. But yeah, that was a nice way to end the Expo Hall escapades. Now we move on to the final few events of PAX East. PAX Pokemon League presents Draw That Pokemon, StreetPass meetup with Nintendo Life, and JayMoji's insane Mario Kart tournament. Thankfully those were back to back to back, so we didn't have to wait around too long for those. While in the same waiting room for the Draw That Pokemon event, the same enforcers pulled the same trick and tried to get us to sing along to a certain song.
Alright everybody, we are going to start to play a song.
I wonder which one. I'm pretty sure a lot of these people were in yesterday's batch and were less enthusiastic this time. I guess it makes sense here since it's literally Pokemon themed, but people were definitely over it. Once we made it to the theater, the judges called random people from the audience to come up, pick out a Pokemon name from a box, and had to draw them from memory in 4 minutes. The equipment, Microsoft Paint, and a drawing tablet. Each judge gave a score out of 10 and at the end picked an overall winner. The Pokemon in the batch were well known, spanning from Gens 1 to 3, which makes sense. It would have been funny if someone had to draw Eternatus or something. Right off the bat, the first girl they picked was madly talented, not just in general, but in the paint software itself. She was using advanced keybinds, swapping palettes, using the paint bucket tool to get rid of stray lines. I've never seen such efficient use of paint in my life, and the crowd was just as shocked. The others weren't as advanced, but they did indeed try their best. As time went on, the contestants ended up pandering to the audience's requests to bribe some more points. The judges obviously wouldn't crush the contestants' hopes and dreams over Pokemon drawings, so they gave pretty lenient scores. One of them even gave perfect 10s to all of them. The winner ended up being a Torchic wearing a top hat, monocle, and holding a cup of tea, aka not the talented paint girl. Somehow she ended up getting the lowest score, probably because she was the guinea pig. Personally, I would have picked that girl because of how hard she tried to draw Umbreon. The voting felt kinda rigged and biased in my opinion, so we left that event feeling a bit dissatisfied. Might have been some underlying drama there. Next up was the StreetPass meetup organized by Nintendo Life. Throughout PAX, I always checked my 3DS for StreetPass. Luckily, I received plenty throughout these couple of days, and sure enough, I'd say more than 50 people showed up to the small room. It was indeed a StreetPass goldmine. Suddenly, it was 2011 again, and people were all playing with each other on their 3DSs. Xeon from Nintendo Life suddenly appeared, along with beat-em-ups and Wolf Den. I honestly didn't expect to see them at PAX. My friend and I were able to talk to Xeon, who was very friendly and sociable. I was thankful for him setting up this event because I also refused to let StreetPass die. I also had him sign my badge and take a picture with me. Very nice. Even though there weren't too many flashy elements here, I felt very comfortable. It was just nice to vibe out with others who haven't forgotten about the 3DS. Easily one of the highlights. And finally, the big one. The finale of this very long PAX East journey. JayMoji's insane Mario Kart tournament. Now I really hope the Nintendo ninjas don't come for me or them. According to the description, it's a completely normal nothing out of the ordinary Mario Kart tournament that definitely won't feature any surprises. And I can attest to that. It's completely normal gameplay that does not feature any modifications at all, and we all agree that we're just watching pure vanilla Mario Kart gameplay, right? Right. This was easily the most elaborate event we've attended. They implemented this fake rivalry where JayMoji was Team Boo and Failboat was Team Rosalina. We were Team Boo, by the way. They kept up this act pretty much the entire time, which is very impressive, and definitely helped hype up the audience, which, by the way, felt exactly like an in-person Twitch chat. Full of adolescent energy, easily the most enthusiastic crowd. As a 22-year-old, I can feel my bones creaking. They revealed that the twist was definitely not a custom mod of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Souls decided to do the unthinkable. At the time, their genius was never understood nor appreciated by the Nintendo gods. Today, they still really aren't appreciated by Nintendo. I mean, what's up with that? However, one man sought out to pull together the greatest creations of the mod makers and present them to you today.
Each track was completely custom and had insane track design. I gotta admit, it was very hype. Just like the previous events, they called on random audience members from each team to compete. The scores were quite neck and neck, kind of too perfectly. In the end, Team Rosalina ended up winning, which was not us, but it was fine. We were very happy that we ended PAX East with that event. I'd like to think that we successfully redeemed ourselves on day 2. As we walked out of the convention center, we were just like, wow, that was PAX East. Needless to say, it was more than we could have ever imagined. Even just being there for 2 days, I experienced so much in that period of time. I was fearful that we'd end up getting bored by day 2, but we were always on our toes and had something to look forward to. Maybe that might not be the case in the future, but I swear it felt like an amusement park. Just an endless amount of entertainment waiting for you. I'm very thankful that I was able to go this year, and of course very grateful to my friends for sharing this first PAX with me, but for also being an extra pair of hands for holding stuff and recording, because I literally have so much footage that I don't know what to do with. While I'm happy that I documented as much as I could, part of me wishes that I could have been more in the moment, because there were several times where I felt like that annoying parent that would record everything on their iPad. So next year, I'm making sure to enjoy the convention without pressing record for 6 hours. Here's all the stuff I got from PAX. Pretty nice haul, if I do say so myself. And thankfully, my wallet is not mad at me. Hopefully you learned a thing or two of what PAX was really like. Thank you so much for riding through this long journey with me. And next year, we're going all in. Okay, goodbye.